Hello. Thank you so much for joining me today. How you doing? Today, I am reacting to this right here. Why American suburbs are so creepy. Honestly, this video has a lot of views, and the thumbnail kind of drew me in, you know? Because when you look at it right here, I mean, it's kind of like, yeah, he's kind of right. Like, it does look a little bit creepy when you put it like that. Check him out. It's Flurf Design. Link down below. He seems to have a lot of great videos that have way more views than like how many subs he has. So I'm gonna invest in this dude. You know what I mean? If I could invest in this dude, I would. Check him out. Link down below. Let's see.
This video is sponsored by NordVPN. Get a 2-year plan at a discount plus 4 additional months for free by visiting nordvpn.com/flurf.
Go use his NordVPN code, guys.
Design. Have you ever walked down a suburban street or an empty parking lot and thought, this place feels creepy? It's the uniformity, lack of diversity.
When the houses are too similar, that can be creepy. I will say that. But I mean, living in America and in suburbia most of my life, maybe I'm used to it.
And the endless maze of sterile streets. It's no surprise that suburban horror is a popular genre seen in countless movies and shows. But what's even more prevalent are images of suburbs being used as...
That is kind of funny, like suburban horror. Because you either get horror movies that take place like out in the middle of a cabin, in the middle of the woods in a cabin, you know what I'm saying? Or in the middle of a neighborhood in suburbia.
Liminal spaces. Liminal spaces are an in-between or transitional space between two places. Think of hallways, stairwells, or airports. These images have become very popular on the internet, depicting eerie abandoned places that evoke feelings of... popular on the internet, depicting...
Now, is this a liminal space? Based on his definition, it does feel a little bit creepy, but this isn't... Is this a transition? It looks like just a big ballroom. There's something weird about how it's so big, but just a little table.
Eerie abandoned places that evoke feelings of unease, nostalgia, and sadness. So is it not concerning that the places we live in are considered strange and creepy?
Why does everything in America look like this?
I guess America does have that kind of vibe to it, huh? Where it's got a lot of land. Everything is so spread out. And it's kind of weird in that. It feels very secluded.
There's no
like every individual thing feels secluded.
Good urban planning anymore.
Like, I think it's like the silence of the suburbs that kind of scare me. Like,
let me read some of these. Stuck in the suburban back rooms help. The suburbs be giving horror film vibes. Actual suburbs will never cease to freak me out. They're such artificial places with extremely unsettling consumerist cultures, and the roads are terrifying. See, now the consumerist culture in particular, I was with it all. I understood until that. It's like, you know, I mean, you go to the city in America, and that's where all the bright billboards are and shit that are trying to sell you stuff. I see why y'all want to ban subdivisions in cars now.
it's quiet.
Us humans made sense of our environment through context. Playgrounds should have kids playing in it, malls should have people shopping, and parking lots should be full of cars. But when you take these environments away from their context, it creates a strange and uncanny feeling that something is missing. Picture a playground at night, an abandoned mall, or an empty parking lot.
Okay, so what should a suburb have?
This is the essence of what makes these liminal space images feel so weird. The term for this is called canopsia, a place that's usually bustling with people, but is now abandoned and quiet. These images give off the feel.
It is kind of interesting because when he points that out, like, yeah, that would make these pictures of the suburbs look less creepy. But they're not always bustling with people. Like, I mean, it kind of depends on the time of day.
That humans have suddenly disappeared and we are peering into a post-apocalyptic world. But despite this, these places still appear neat and well maintained. Who's mopping the floors? What's keeping the lights on? Suburbia is built like a city. You have houses, sidewalks, and streets, but where is everyone? Everything appears neat and organized.
Okay, I'm following.
Despite being so desolate. It's the perfectly manicured lawns and the uniformity of the houses.
So ironically, on Halloween, which is supposed to be creepy, everybody outside walking around makes it less creepy.
Almost everyone is driving in cars because suburbia is designed exclusively for cars and nothing is at a human scale.
Well, it's designed where if you want to go anywhere, you have to take a car. If you just want to walk around your neighborhood, it's also designed for that.
The large signs used to catch drivers' attention and the massive roads and parking lots made to accommodate all the traffic. And the architecture is bland and functional because if everyone's gonna drive past it, why bother making it look nice? This also means suburbia is devoid of people. Everything is too far and dangerous to walk anywhere because our streets are built like highways.
Okay. I see. I guess this is considered part of suburbia. Okay, I got you. Like the commercial spaces.
They use wide, highway-sized lanes, and the road itself is flat and straight, allowing drivers to drive at high speeds. These look a lot more like racetracks than a city street. So everything becomes a thoroughfare rather than a destination. Everywhere becomes a place to drive through and not a place to drive to. But despite how car-centric it is, the
That was beautiful.
concept of suburbia has nothing to do with cars. The definition of suburbs are literally just places on the outskirts of a city, and they have existed for centuries. Suburbanites from the Roman Empire were definitely not driving around in their Ford F-150s. Even today, you find suburbs all over the world, and apart from North America and a few other English-speaking countries, they're vastly different.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, no matter where you go, if you have a city like a central hub for commerce, the economy, naturally, there's not enough room in the city for everybody who works in there. So some number of them are gonna live on the suburbs or the outside of it. Now, how those suburbs look and function, I understand, is different in America than in Europe.
Even North American cities used to build walkable human-scaled suburbs. The reason we don't build suburbs like this anymore is because we made it illegal. Zoning laws dictate what kinds of buildings can be built and where. This place is zoned for stores and this area is zoned for apartments. But on majority of our residential land, it's zoned exclusively for single-family homes and nothing else. This is why suburbia has the same repetitive cookie-cutter houses, because it's literally illegal to build anything else.
Well, you would think that the houses might look different. Well, that's what's kind of interesting is some places you go here in America, the houses are all unique and different. But then when you really go to like a subdivision, oftentimes, and some subdivisions more so than others, some subdivisions, the houses are almost like identical, like what he's showing. Those are mostly when like the same builder, whatever, has a contract with that subdivision, so they build all the houses in that subdivision, they start looking very similar. Now, once you break free of that mold of, the same builder building all the houses, then you can have some variety. But I've seen subdivisions just like this, for sure.
Then there's parking minimums. I already talked about this in a previous video, but essentially, these laws force every building to provide an excessive amount of parking. It's estimated that there are 8 parking spaces for every car in America.
That's interesting. That's unfortunate, huh? That's just one of the unfortunate things about the car-centric type design in America. Because you need to make the parking lot big enough for the peak hours, It can't shrink and grow with how many people want to be there. You got to make it big enough for Black Friday.
Humans like to be spatially contained by walls because it makes us feel protected. So when you're standing in the middle of a giant Walmart parking lot, you feel exposed and uncomfortable. If that wasn't enough, many suburban neighborhoods have what's called homeowners associations, or HOAs, which are basically organizations that enforce rules on residents and their property. This usually prevents you from changing how your home looks, such as painting your front door a different color or installing a certain kind of fence. Sometimes you can't even install solar panels because they would be, quote, too visible from the street.
I hate some of the rules on some subdivisions. Someone happened to just knock on my door. I think it's the HOA coming in to tell me to stop watching this.
Freedom, am I right?
You're not allowed to watch this video in this subdivision.
Because the design of suburbia is dictated by so many rules, everywhere starts to look the same. Can you guess where this footage was taken from? This is why people describe liminal space images as oddly familiar and why people feel so nostalgic about them even if they've never actually been to where these pictures were taken. Because when everything everywhere looks the same, they all lack identity and a...
Right, it's kind of that uncanny thing where it looks familiar because it's so similar, but you know you've never actually been there.
sense of place. Places lack a sense of place when they have no connection to where they're located. Think of gas stations, fast food chains, and department stores. These are non-places, places that could be anywhere but are simultaneously nowhere. Car-dependent infrastructure is incompatible with local small businesses. Large single-use buildings and parking lots are expensive and only corporations can afford them, compared to smaller lots that are right up against the street. And because car-centric infrastructure makes everything spread out, it takes more time to drive to different stores and find parking. So it becomes more convenient to do all your shopping in one place. This results in the copy and paste town, a place that has nothing unique and only the same chain stores as the one next to it.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that exact thing just the other day, thinking about the implications of it. It's really weird. It's kind of sad. Like, you think about in suburbia opening a business, most businesses are just franchises. Like, it's kind of like risky to open up anything but a franchise because it's suburbia, you know, there's not that many people and, you know, they're all kind of driving by. They're not just window shopping, you know.
Unsurprisingly, people make fun of this all the time. Here's a beautiful natural landscape. All it needs is a highway and a Walmart parking lot. Nature is rarely found in liminal spaces because they have no context. They just grow wherever they want, whenever they want. They're not unnatural. Cities, although man-made, are similar to nature. They have always formed and grown incrementally rather than orderly. As the saying goes, Rome wasn't built in a day, and great cities weren't either. In the past, they started out as small villages beside a river or a train station. People had a tiny wooden shack and a dream. As time went by, more and more people moved into the village and incrementally built more onto it. Soon, those small crummy shacks became 3-story brick buildings, and that bumpy dirt road got paved with smooth asphalt.
Those are the cities with the most charm, huh? The ones that you can tell were kind of built over time.
Modern suburbia, on the other hand, is built all at once to a finished state. One day you have a piece of farmland and overnight an entire neighborhood pops out of nowhere. Once it's built, zoning laws prevent it from changing and adapting. They're frozen in place. The best you can do is renovate your house, but when your city is going through a housing crisis, you can't simply build onto these places. You have to sprawl further out and eat up more land. Suburbia tries to mimic rural living while having all the amenities of a city, but in doing so, they can't financially sustain themselves. When everything is built at the scale of cars, everything from roads to utilities have to be stretched out while serving less people. As a result, suburbs all over the place are decaying because cities can't afford to repair sidewalks or potholes. And so we're left with these empty, decaying lots like abandoned malls. Meanwhile, a shiny new Walmart is built on the edge of the city. It's an endless cycle of growth and decay. These problems are inherently political. Zoning laws need to be changed to...
This is hitting it home for me a little bit. I mean, there is literally an abandoned mall. Interesting. The mall that's been abandoned, that's relatively near where I live, has got asbestos, so much asbestos in the walls that it would be more expensive to tear it down than to not.
Allow a more variety of housing, and parking requirements need to be reformed so suburbs aren't full of concrete wastelands. Japan, for example, is known for their narrow and charming streets, which you might think is because Japanese people are just more kawaii than us. But it really has to do with their policies. Japan has parking minimums, but they're a lot lower and market-driven, making their parking lots much more reasonably sized. They also limit on-street parking and require...
Is this a suburb?
...car owners to prove they have an off-street parking spot. Streets look a whole lot better when you remove the cars. Meanwhile, the province of Ontario in Canada destroys about 300 acres of land every single day to build new car-dependent suburbs. And while Ontario may be big, only 5% of the land is usable farmland. This is why saying suburbs are close to nature is ironic. Suburbs are the reason why cities are not close to nature. Thankfully,
Suburbs are the reason why cities are not close to nature. Yeah.
Toronto recently allowed higher density housing to be built on single-family residential land, which will hopefully put a plug on the infamous Yellow Belt. Until then, modern suburbia is simply not sustainable.
I guess Canada is pretty car-centric. I mean, America, USA is even more car-centric, I would say, just because the transportation systems aren't as good here.
And it's creepy too. What's also creepy are hackers hacking into your device. As a student, I'm often doing
NordVPN. Well, I think that's the end of the video, so check out his page. That was pretty epic. That was very interesting. It was a little bit creepy, you know. Kind of creeped out by my own neighborhood now. Kind of uncanny. I'm looking out the window. What the hell? Where is everybody? That was a great video. Suburbs definitely have their pitfalls. That's for sure. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great weekend. I'll see you guys next week.